A social media influencer, her lawyer father, her ex-boyfriend have plotted against her other previous ex, who's the father of a daughter that they shared together, for an unaliving for hire plot. The father, whose name is Jack Avery, is a singer and was previously in a boy band. It sounds like something out of a Hollywood TV script, but this is real life. And thankfully, nobody was harmed. However, there is a massive case that's going on in Los Angeles due to this. So welcome to the Light True Crime. We're going to get into the details, look at the criminal complaint, and see what the status is as of today for their court hearing. Let's start with a statement that the Los Angeles County DA released regarding this situation. It reads, a social media influencer, her father, and her then boyfriend were charged with plotting to unalive the father of their 7-year-old daughter by trying to hire a hitman on the dark web as part of a family custody dispute several years ago. Quote, this was a lengthy investigation that was initiated by the FBI and eventually turned over to our office, resulting in criminal charges being filed today, said the LA County District Attorney Nathan Hodgman. This is a case where the defendants are accused of going to great lengths to find someone to commit homicide. Most fathers raise their children to respect the law, but here we have a dad who allegedly helped his daughter and her boyfriend break the law in the most sinister way imaginable. Gabriella Lauren Gonzalez, whose date of birth is September 6, 2001. Again, these are young people. Francisco Gonzalez, who is her father, who's born in December of 66, and Kai Farron Corgi, whose date of birth is in October of 1999. They were all charged with 1 count each of attempted homicide, conspiracy to commit homicide, and solicitation of homicide. Gabriella Gonzalez was being arraigned in Los Angeles. Her father, Francisco, was arrested in Florida and was being extradited to Los Angeles. And they go on to say that Gabriella Gonzalez, a social media influencer, was embroiled in a custody dispute involving her daughter and the child's father, Jack Avery, a former member of the musical group Why Don't We? Between 2020 and 2021, she's accused of seeking the assistance of her then boyfriend, Corgi, to hire someone on the dark web to unalive Avery. In April 2021, Gabby's father, Francisco, allegedly sent $10,000 to Corgi as front money to use in locating, hiring, and paying someone to unalive Avery. Corgi allegedly requested and received an additional $4,000 from Francisco 2 months later after the alleged hitman asked for additional funds. Several days later, Corgi allegedly requested that Avery be unalived within a couple days. In September of 2021, an undercover law enforcement officer posing as the hitman spoke with Corgi about the homicide for hire plot. Corgi is accused of telling the undercover officer that Avery was a target and discussed payment and the proof of his death. In a subsequent conversation, Corgi allegedly told the purported hitman that Gabriella Gonzalez wanted the homicide to happen and Francisco Gonzalez could pay for the expense. If convicted as charged, all 3 defendants face 25 years to life in state prison. So let's quickly meet everybody in this before we read the full formal criminal complaint. This is Gabriella Gonzalez. This here is Jack Avery. They both share a daughter, which is the center of a massive custody battle.
You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy.
This is Gabriella's father, Francisco Gonzalez, the one who's paying for the homicide for hire plot. And here we have Gabriella's ex at the time that this was going down, Kai Corgi, who was going on the dark web to set everything up. So let's get into the criminal complaint that's going to give us more of the details of exactly what happened and why they have these charges. On or between January 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2022, in the county of Los Angeles, the crime of conspiracy to commit a crime in violation of Penal Code a felony, was committed by Gabriella Lauren Gonzalez, Francisco Javier Gonzalez, and Kai Farron Cordry, who did unlawfully conspire together and with another person and persons whose identity is unknown to commit the crime of homicide. So let's get into the timeline of things. The overt acts. On or about 2020 through 2021 in Los Angeles County family court proceedings and related communications, defendants Gabriella Gonzalez, the mother of their daughter Lavender, and Francisco Gonzalez, the grandfather of Lavender, the daughter who this custody battle is over, participated in a custody and visitation dispute concerning Lavender, in which Jack Avery, who's the father of Lavender, was repeatedly portrayed as unfit, dangerous, or harmful to Lavender. Now, on or about 2020 through 2021, defendants Gabriella Gonzalez and Francisco Gonzalez used allegations concerning Jack Avery's treatment of Lavender and the claimed failure of the family court process to encourage or justify efforts to remove Jack Avery from Lavender's life. On or about February 2021 through April 2021, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez communicated allegations concerning Jack Avery and the custody dispute to defendant Kai Cordry, causing Cordry to become involved in the conflict and to believe that action outside the court system was necessary. On or about March 22, 2021, at approximately 4:48 p.m. Eastern Time, defendant Francisco Gonzalez wrote in a Gonzalez family group communication, quote, "Call Barca, never too early," end quote, which is referring to Dustin Barca, a former professional fighter and boxing trainer in Kauai. Apologies for mispronouncing that. That's in Hawaii. On or about March 23, 2021, at approximately 5:26 p.m. in Hawaii time, defendant Kai Cordry texted Dustin Barca and asked when he could come by to talk about what they had discussed after a boxing lesson. On or about March 23, 2021, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez, accompanied by defendant Kai Cordry, attempted to recruit Dustin Barca to threaten, scare, or force Jack Avery off Kauai. Now, on or about October 2020 through May 2021, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez repeatedly discussed wanting Jack Avery unalived and discussed hiring a hitman to unalive him. On or about March 21st through April 2021, defendants Gabriella Gonzalez and Kai Cordry discussed using the dark web and Bitcoin to hire someone to unalive Jack Avery in Los Angeles and discussed making this unaliving appear to be an accident. On or about March 2021 through May 2021, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez supplied defendant Kai Cordry with identifying information concerning Jack Avery for use in the homicide for hire plot. On or about April 7, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry texted his mother that there was a $15,000 plus bounty if her contact knew anyone who could assist in getting Jack Avery away from Lavender. On or about April 11, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry texted defendant Gabriella Gonzalez about a, quote, new way, end quote, to remove Jack Avery from Lavender's life. On or about April 26, 2021, defendant Francisco Gonzalez caused approximately $10,000 to be transmitted to defendant Kai Cordry as front money for Cordry to use in locating, hiring, and paying someone to unalive Jack Avery. On or about May 4th, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry transferred approximately $5,000 to a Gemini cryptocurrency account. On or about May 6, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry transferred approximately $5,000 to a Gemini cryptocurrency account. On or about May 6, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry, using the alias Lizard King 69, signed up for or began using a dark web homicide for hire account concerning Jack Avery. On or about May 22, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry, using the alias Lizard King 69, identified the target as Jack Robert Avery and provided an address in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles County, California. On or about May 22, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry, using the alias Lizard King 69, instructed the dark web homicide for hire site and or its participants that Jack Avery should be unalived by whatever method was easiest, including a pew-pew situation or a staged accident. Now, on or about June 4th, 2021, the dark web homicide for hire site and or its administrator demanded an additional $4,000 from defendant Kai Cordry using the alias Lizard King 69 to send an, quote, expert hitman, end quote, to unalive Jack Avery. On or about June 5th, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry sent defendant Francisco Gonzalez a $4,000 invoice through Cordry's business, Site Whisperer, as a cover for additional funds to continue the homicide for hire plot. On or about June 10th, 2021, defendant Francisco Gonzalez paid approximately $4,000 to the defendant Kai pursuant to the Site Whisperer invoice, providing additional funds for the homicide for hire plot. On or about June 12th, 2021, defendant Kai Cordry, using the alias, again, Lizard King 69, confirmed to the dark web homicide for hire site and or its administrator that he had uploaded 4,000 more for the unaliving to be completed. On or about June 16th, 2021, defendant Kai, using the alias Lizard King 69, requested that Jack Avery be unalived within 2 days and stated that the unaliving did not need to be accomplished in any special way. On or about September 19th, 2021, in Los Angeles County, California, an undercover FBI agent posing as a hitman and physically located in Los Angeles County spoke by telephone with defendant Kai Cordry concerning the planned homicide of Jack Avery. During the September 19, 2021 call, defendant Kai Cordry confirmed to the undercover FBI agent that Jack Avery was the target of the homicide for hire plot and discussed payment and proof of death with the undercover FBI agent. On or about September 21st or September 22nd, 2021, defendant Kai sent the undercover FBI agent, who was located in LA County, photographs, social media information, or other identifying information concerning Jack Avery. On or about October 17th, 2021, defendant Kai told the undercover FBI agent, who was located in LA, that Jack Avery's ex-girlfriend, meaning defendant Gabriella Gonzalez, wanted the job done, that Cordry helped set it up, and that the father, meaning defendant Francisco Gonzalez, still wanted it done and could pay. On or about October 17, 2021, defendant Kai provided or caused to be provided the code word bull run to defendant Francisco so that Francisco could identify himself to the undercover FBI agent. On or about December 20th, 2021, defendant Francisco, using the name Fran G and telephone number ending in 1440, sent the code word bull run to the undercover FBI agent. On or about December 21st, 2021, defendant Francisco Gonzalez spoke with an undercover FBI agent located in LA County who is posing as the killer or intermediary. During that December 21, 2021 call, defendant Francisco discussed with the undercover FBI agent the prior Bitcoin payment made through defendant Kai, verifying the correct target and payment or completion issues. On or about December 21st, 2021, defendant Francisco contacted defendant Kai through Instagram and asked whether Cordry had time to speak. On or about December 23rd, 2021, defendant Francisco asked defendant Kai whether he could call him on Signal. On or about October 20th, 2022, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez spoke with defendant Kai during a recorded call about the supposed hitman's communications and discussed how to respond to the threat of exposure. During the October 20th, 2022 recorded call with defendant Kai, defendant Gabriella Gonzalez stated or suggested that she could speak with her father, meaning defendant Francisco Gonzalez, because he had been handling most of it. So the count 2 charge just has that it was a crime of attempted homicide, which was willful, deliberate, and premeditated against all of these defendants. And count 3 is the crime of solicitation of homicide, and it was committed again by all 3 defendants in this case. Now, the initial bail recommended was $2 million for each defendant. Kai's was lowered down to $100,000, but all of them have posted bond and are currently awaiting their proceedings out with GPS monitoring and everything while they await their hearings and arraignments. Now you can see all of their charges here that are fully listed for all of them. Now I want to share with you the social media statement that Jack Avery put out regarding this whole situation, which, can you imagine an FBI agent coming to your front door and telling you that this plan was going down against you, it's shocking. Thankfully, nothing happened and he was not harmed because there was an agent involved in the situation. He states, a few days ago, 3 individuals were arrested in connection with an alleged plot to unalive me. One of those individuals is the mother of my daughter. For years, my family and I have endured intense public scrutiny, false accusations, and deeply painful attacks on our character and reputation. Throughout that time, I chose to remain silent out of respect for the legal process and, most importantly, for my daughter. Right now, my focus is on being the best father I can be. I'm thankful to have sole custody of my daughter, Lavender, who is safe, healthy, and deeply loved. I look forward to continuing to build a peaceful and stable life for her. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to my family, friends, law enforcement, and the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for their support throughout this process. And finally, to everyone who has supported me and withheld judgment while the truth unfolded, thank you. Always seek the truth. And with this statement, he also just shared a photo of him and his daughter, which thankfully he has sole custody over due to this whole situation. Now, arraignment was just recently pushed to September 14th for all 3 defendants. I have some local news coverage and video of that court hearing here to show you. So I'm just going to post that to finish off this video if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for tuning into The Light True Crime. Remember, what happens in the dark will always come to the light, especially in this case. Thank goodness. Thank goodness that nobody was harmed and that this child is also in a safe place with her father. Please make sure that you're following for more updates on this case and many others that I do cover. I am hoping to be there in the courtroom for this case to keep you updated in person in Los Angeles. Now, stay safe, be kind to one another, and as always, I will see you all in the next one.
A popular TikTok influencer appearing in a Los Angeles courtroom today for an alleged murder-for-hire plot involving a pop singer who is the father of her child. Gabriella Gonzalez, along with her ex-boyfriend Kai Cordry, waiving their right to a speedy arraignment, requesting their arraignment and plea be pushed to September.
Do each of you waive the right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment may be continued to September 14, 2026?
Yes. The two, along with Gonzalez's father, are charged with multiple counts, including the attempted murder of Jack Avery, who Gonzalez shares a 7-year-old daughter with. Avery is also a former member of the boy band Why Don't We? Gonzalez's father, Francisco, was arrested in Florida and is expected to be extradited to Los Angeles. His attorney, President Court, joining the request for the arraignment to be pushed. Prosecutors allege this 2021 murder-for-hire plot stemmed from a years-long bitter child custody battle between Gabriella Gonzalez and Avery. According to court documents, Los Angeles prosecutors say Gonzalez partnered with Cordry and her father to surveil the pop star. They allegedly discussed hiring a hitman to make the killing look like a deadly car crash. Prosecutors also say they discussed Bitcoin payments. The attorneys representing the defendants saying there's too much discovery to go through in a short period of time to enter a plea today.
We do need additional time. This is a very old case in terms of when the allegations occurred. Moreover, Your Honor, is that I need to be able to see all the documents.
All 3 defendants are out on bond. The Gonzalez each posted their $2 million bond, and Cordry posted his $100,000 bond.